Okay. See, I can, I got a 6-footer and a 4-footer. I just just pushed them up end for end. And see, there's 2 ribs right there. And I would have to put this in there and see how it lined up and screw it in and push it in there. And I believe it'll fix in. It slips apart and then it clamps on there. You know, two here, 2 there. And then you tighten it up in the middle with the screw, the bolt, and the nut, see? And that holds that together. Well, you could do it that way. Then you still have to figure out how to connect these 2 up because they didn't have any other ones like this. And this is designed to fit on the side. I looked at it and see it's on the front face. I don't think you would want to put that over the top of that. In fact, I don't think it would even work. But see, that's what I was saying on the back. You could connect, you just line those 2 up and put some white electrical wire, Romex wire on there, and loop it over the top, and then just connect it at the bottom with a pair of pliers and just twist it with pliers. In fact, on the front, I could do the same thing if I wanted. I just take a wire right across there. I could even take two strands of wire, one at the top and one towards the bottom, you know, or just one and wrap it around there. Or I could take a longer one and wrap it like twice over this. And so there's 2 pieces going across there. And then tie it on the back side. I think that would be just as strong. Because my word, if you get it tight like that with a pair of pliers, it's not going anywhere. And plus the wire, this looks like wire, right? Romex wire. This would look like Romex wire too. I think I might do that instead of this. But either way, I've got to do some measuring, figure it all out. And sometimes, depending on where you're going to cut it and stuff, you may have a little bit of it sticking out. I was kind of hoping I was going to have a little bit of this sticking out a little bit, especially up next to the wall. And if you did, then you could take some little rubber goodies like that, a cap, and put on the end. And so I thought I was going to put these caps on every single shelf. That's why I got a whole big old pack. You can buy these, you can buy, you know, a 15 pack. This was like a 90 pack. 96, see? 96. But if I open this up and use one, and that's it, I can't take that back, can I? But if I would have gotten a pack of 12 and maybe only use 4 or 5, I could do that. But you see, I may not have to use those at all. But in some other places, if I wanted to join this on the shelf bracket, and cut it back, I would cut it back and let half of this stick out both directions so it would fit on that shelf bracket support that comes out. But then I lose a bit of my shelf. Okay, so I still have to figure this out because I might have enough. If I've got a few little pieces, odds and ends left. And if it's okay for me to cut up a 6-foot shelf into a 4 foot 10-inch shelf or something like that, I might just do that and be done with it, you know. But so I'm gonna measure a few things and figure out how I can do this with the least amount of cutting and stuff. Because if I can take a 6-footer back and a 4-footer, or 2 6s and 1 4, or just 1 6, or whatever. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. I didn't know exactly how many shelves I was going to have. I thought I would have maybe 5 6-footers, and I got 7. I thought I would need 1 4-footer, and I got 2 4-footers. I could have got 3 4-footers because at the point is you know, if you don't know how much stuff you're going to use, get extra. So see, I've got 2 extra 5-footers, 1 extra 4-footer. And I could do the same thing on my shelves. I've got the screws that I'm not going to use. I may not use these clips. I may not use these. And see, I have 2 brackets left. Remember, I thought, initially, I thought I was going to have just 1 bracket left, but I didn't really know. So I thought, I'll get extra. And then after figuring out, remember, I thought I would have 4 or 5 brackets left. Well, I got 2 brackets left, so it's a good thing I got how many of those did I get? 28 of those. I could have got like 30 and still been fine, because if you have to take a few back, what's the difference, you know? So think about that when you're at the store, before you come home and say, oh, I gotta get 1 more box of screws, 1 more 4-foot vertical upright, 1 more bracket, you know. Just get way more, because you're always going to be going back to the store, and you can take stuff back at that point. Well, one of my support screws broke. See, just snapped off because it was hitting a knot, and I ran it in there, and I could feel that it was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. I thought, oh, maybe it'll go a little bit more, and then click, it cracked off, and that's okay. I think it was this, where was it? Yeah, I think it was that screw right there. And so before getting another screw, now see, I was able to get it in the same hole, because you've got 3/4 of an inch here. You can put it slightly at an angle up, down, off to the side, off to the left-hand side, off to the right-hand side, and still use the same hole. See, are you ever going to know that that's going up at an angle? This edge is sticking out more than the bottom edge? You're never going to know. You get the shelf on there, you get some stuff on there, it's good to go. And before I put that back in, then obviously before I pre-drilled, I had to get the next size drill bit up and put it in before I rammed that in there. So, you know, every once in a while, don't just think you can ram it in, because these things will strip and they'll spin, and just because I had a ratcheted drill, you know, it couldn't take it all the way in. It just twisted this thing and spun it right off. And now if this was a number 12 screw, it probably would have done the same thing, depending how hard I wanted to do it. This happened to be a number 10 screw. See, number 10 by 2.5. See, and there's only so much you can go in there. So as you're putting it in, that's why I pre-drill the holes too, because those studs, like I say, those wall studs, they're over 15 years old, and if you hit a knot or something, you'll kind of be able to tell if you're using a sharp drill bit to pre-drill your holes. And if it's not going in there, you might think, oh, yeah, it feels like I'm going through a knot or something. You might want to upgrade your drill bit in that one particular hole before you even start ratcheting those screws in there, you know. But every once in a while, that's going to happen. But now you know how to fix it, right? Right. All right, let's get these shelves put up. There's that long shelf. Let's look at that for a second. I decided to cut it at the joint right in between here, because see, then I had this shelf fit on top of there, and this next one I had to cut to allow an overlap in there so that both of those fit in between there, and I don't have to put a cover on there or anything. Had I had that over there right about here, then obviously I would have, but see, that's how I did that. And I was like, okay, this was out of a 6-footer, and then this one was I forget what, oh, that was a little less than 4 feet, and this one up here was a little more than 2 feet. So I cut a 6-footer, and I had to measure it such and allow for that over, because if you don't do that, then this line here is is closer here and you might not have enough overage. So I had to cut this side and I had to cut that side. I was thinking about just trying to cut one, but that wall's off a little bit anyways. And so I got all my square cuts right there and it fits over that. And that little tip sets on there and that little tip sets on there. Same thing for there, so that's not going anywhere. And I had to strategically measure this, remember? I only had 2 4-footers, and I'm going to put 2 4-footers here. That way I've got a joint right here instead of there with the 6-footer, because then had I done that, then I would have only had a couple little pieces, and I wouldn't have been able to have enough of a 4-footer or anything. So I'm taking my 2 4-footers and splitting it right here with the 2 4-footers, because this is longer. This is just a hair less than 6 feet, and this one here is a hair more than 4 feet. Had I taken a 4-footer, it would have stopped about right there, and I wanted it to go over a little bit further. So you see, I'm going to end up having one extra 6-footer that I don't have to do anything with, and that's fine. And I'll get the joints all nicely fit in there like that. Oh, that's going to be sweet. And see, I did have enough room here, and I broke down and put the little caps on there. That way that's not rough up here. See, I just took the caps. The caps were sticking out pretty far, so I just cut the end of the caps off a little bit so that they fit on there, and that gives a nice finished edge right there. And there's my sprinkler. That's plenty of room in there to where I'm not going to hit anything when I put stuff. Obviously, we have this shelf here. We'll have to make sure we don't get things up too high and too close to that sprinkler there. Okay, so little by little, I'm doing it, and then when you have your brackets, see how wonky they are like that? But that's okay. That's just how it is. And then when you fit it in there, I looked at that and I saw it was in between there. So I made sure this one was in between. That way that is going square. And I did all of them that way, because it's got little tits on there, and if that fell over there, then you could have this kind of going at an angle. So, you know, just different little things you gotta think of. See how this one moves a little bit, but that's okay. It's in the middle there. And so if that moves like that, that's okay, but at least it's in where it's supposed to be. You see what I mean? And I like these. They kind of go a little different than the standard ones, because you see how that little thing is there. So when you pop the back in, it kind of wedges in there. The standard brackets, not the heavy-duty brackets, the other ones, they have a slightly different type of hook there, and they don't have a little hook like that. See? It's just straight, and then it sticks out. You know, it sticks out about, oh, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or so. I'm kind of digging these. So, you see, this is going to look nice when I get done with it. And remember, I was telling you could cut these with a hacksaw. Well, I'm glad I had my Sawzall, and I'm using my metal cutting blade on the Sawzall, and that's working out way better than a hacksaw, because when you get in there with a hacksaw, it's hard to fit your hacksaw blade in between here, and you have to hold your mouth just right and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of tricky. I remember that when I installed some shelves like this in a closet, and I was having to cut off, and I didn't have a Sawzall at the time, and I was cutting with the hacksaw. I remember it was kind of a pain to do it with the hacksaw. So I'm glad I got my Sawzall here. Hey, be ready for your project. That's all I got to say. All right, so off I go, do some more measuring and getting ready to cut my 4-footers. Now see, when I get ready to cut the 4-footers, when I measure, I want to make sure that I'm in between one of these and having it stick in far enough to have these set on top of the shelf. So which means when I measure this, if I have to cut this end off, I may have to do that, depending where my next measure is down here. You see what I mean? So think about your project, see how it's going to fit on there, and do it. Hey, you're saving money for sure.